average drive-thru experience in America, you order at the box, it's impersonal, you pull up to the window, they take your money, windows closed, their back gets turned to you, and then that's it. You're just trained for that to be okay. There's the 3 C's of Clutch: customer, culture, and community. 4 days after we opened, we gave back 100% of our proceeds to the local high school. You killed two birds with one stone. Are you coachable, and can you be reliable? If you have those things, I don't care if you've never made a cup of coffee in your life. We will teach you everything else. We're going to double in size this year, and the only way we're doing that is with the right people. When I first started, I was in North Carolina 21 days a month for a year and a half straight. Every flight I take to the East Coast is a red eye. First year of COVID, we actually grew 40% year over year. It was crazy. They issued permits a month early. That never happened. There was a big crunch on manufacturing. That was probably the most challenging. We serve free drinks all day, no strings attached. Someone wants to come through 1 time or 10 times, I don't really care. An energy drink that has peach, strawberry, white chocolate. You wouldn't think white chocolate would go into an energy drink. It's organized chaos. You either succeed or you learn. No failing. You got to be willing to continue to shoot that shot. It takes one opportunity to be right. Map out plan A, be prepared for plan A to go to shit. Map out plan B, be prepared for plan B to be semi-accurate, and then prepare for plan C. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter. If you can't explain to her, you are complicating it too much. This is a chance to build something really special that could change our financial direction as a family forever.
Welcome back to the Sam Weinstein Show. We have a very special guest, Darren Spicer, the co-founder of Clutch Coffee. He's here to tell us his whole experience and what it was like building a magnificent coffee brand. Welcome, Darren.
Appreciate it, Sam. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. So you run a Clutch Coffee Bar, right? Can you explain what that is and how it's different from, say, like Starbucks?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what the best part of that is for this podcast is we're gonna do this while I'm actually sitting in a Starbucks right now. Had to get a little afternoon fuel here.
Oh no. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. So the biggest difference I think with Clutch versus Starbucks or Dunkin' or brands that people might be more familiar with, really comes down to a couple key components. So it's the customer experience, the speed, and the quality of what we're doing. And the customer experience really is the root of everything. It's 180 degrees different than the way it might be at Starbucks. You know, we actually have people who are outside face to face taking your order. We are working on getting that information inside in a very fast fashion, so that we can get orders done more efficiently, and just really trying to build genuine connections, right? I think while we serve coffee, we are really in the relationship business, and coffee happens to be the vehicle that we deliver that through. So, yeah.
Right. So it's almost like a community first brand, community first company, and then coffee as the thing between the relationship.
100%. Yeah. We really try. I mean, there's the 3 C's of Clutch that we subscribe to, which is customer, culture, and community. And those things, none of them, one can't be sacrificed for the other, right? They all have to be there. And so being a part of every community we go into is a huge component of what we do, both in our actions and our words.
Right. So the 3 C's: the customer experience, culture, and community. Can you walk through each one and how sort of that is like Clutch's signature around the whole brand, how that differentiates itself?
Yeah, of course. So the first one's customer, right? And it really is a customer-centric business for some of the reasons that I was just describing. Really trying to pour into those like the average drive-through experience in America. We've become very accustomed to, like, think about it. You order at the box, right? At the speaker box. It's impersonal. You pull up to the window. Someone might they might say hi. They take your money. The window's closed. Their back gets turned to you, and then that's it. And like you're just trained for that to be okay. So really trying to change that and have that face-to-face experience right out of the gate, and then to build on that specifically. Like we have someone who's designated on our window position who literally is focused on having a relationship with that customer and talking about their day, whatever is going on. So the customer piece is huge. The culture part, that's really for us internally. Like, who are we as a company? What's our identity? What's our DNA? Do people get excited and they want to work at Clutch, or is it a place where you're like, I have to go to work today? So really building the right culture. Our core values being servant leaders, top to bottom, and providing opportunity and growth, and how we treat people is really important for the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then community, as I was mentioning, like we just opened a new store at the end of January in Columbia, South Carolina. 4 days after we opened, we
Right.
did what we call a proceeds day, where we gave back 100% of our proceeds to the local high school.
Wow.
Um, and so just trying to really support local initiatives and show that we're a part of the community. And that's a very important part of who we are and what we do.
Right. So going back to those three C's, I think one of the things I saw was from the customer experience, like you mentioned, was someone actually is face to face. The human experience is actually going. It's not just a drive-through window. They're actually going around, taking people's orders from the car, so that it's a human face-to-face experience, but also it increases the speed at which orders are taken, get people through the drive-throughs, right?
Yep. Yep. It
Right.
really becomes, you kill two birds with one stone, right? You get the fact that you get that face to face, and think about the best comparison I could give people is, depending on which coast you're on, is either In-N-Out Burger or Chick-fil-A, right?
Huh.
And
Right.
and so you go there and like you pull up to a station where they're taking your order typically. That's kind of the checkpoint, and then you keep going. For us, it's if I have 10 cars in line, can I get our runner position to go out and take cars 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Right.
to really just funnel that in even faster and welcome people, right? To,
Right.
hey, welcome to Clutch. Here's a menu. If you don't know what you want yet, I'll be back in a second. I'm going to grab their order and I'll take yours. Like building that relationship, I think is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going on to the culture, how do you foster an environment where, people actually want to work there and are engaging with the customers and building off of that relationship? How do you find those people and then nurture them into the Clutch, community or culture?
A, a lot of coaching and a lot of patience and a lot of love. Um, it's $1 million question because
Yeah.
culture is such a loose term that's used, right? Everyone talks about
Right.
how you want to have a great culture. Well, every business has a culture. Some are shitty and some are great. It just depends. And
Right.
so I think for us, it's finding people that have the right DNA, people that it's the intangibles. Do you have a positive energy and a positive outlook on things? Are you
Mm-hmm.
coachable, and can you be reliable? If you have those things, I don't care if you've never made a cup of coffee in your life. We will teach you
Right.
everything else. And so finding people that are geared the right way, and then really having a lot of specific training for them and encouraging them. It's funny, my mom will tell this story to anybody who listens. Like when I started working in coffee at 18,
Mm-hmm.
she will tell people that I was like fairly shy before that.
Right.
And then going through that process and learning at a couple different brands that I worked at forces you to get out of your shell
Mm-hmm.
and talk to people and be able to carry a conversation with anybody from all different walks of life.
Right.
And so it's actually cool because we end up teaching a lot of our employees life skills that they take beyond Clutch.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. It's culture is like so hard to build and maintain, but it's also the most important thing. So
Absolutely.
it's just it's something you got to do.
Right. So it's almost like you're teaching people to, instead of being a manager and boss people around, you're teaching people, to be coachable and be coaches and sort of not just have, do your job, XYZ, but, teach people the skills to then build off of not just, Clutch, but life in general, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, look, nobody. I don't think anybody enjoys just having orders barked at them or being told what to do.
Right.
They want to know that, especially with, I would say, respectfully, with like a younger generation of employees we have, they want to be heard, respected, and feel like they're part of something. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's our job. That's our job, literally, to provide that space, to provide that opportunity. Now we're still going to be highly accountable, and sometimes those are the hard things where like you might have someone that's an amazing employee, great personality, but literally can't show up to work on time, and that happens over and over and over. And then like at a certain point you say, hey, like if I don't actually draw a line here, I'm
Mm-hmm.
literally setting a poor precedent for everybody else. Like we do have parameters. So it's a balance. And I've seen some amazing people that ended up not being able to work at Clutch because they couldn't kind of get some of those things together. But it's our responsibility. It's our job and our responsibility to do that. So
Right. To be a coach. Right. Speaking of coaches, you have some experience in the coaching sporting world. Why don't you tell us about that? Where you grew up and what's the Darren story? What's your story?
Yeah. So let's see. I'm born and raised in Oregon here.
Yeah, see the
Um,
hoodie.
I I moved. I went to the University of Oregon. I played basketball in college. Went to University of Oregon. I graduated and worked in the NBA for the Sacramento Kings. I
Right.
actually kind of told myself if I couldn't play in the league, I wanted to work in it. So I
Huh.
earned worked and earned that opportunity. I got there, so like put all this work into getting there, and the time I was there, I performed really well as a sales rep, but it wasn't enjoyable work. It
Right.
really took away my passion for the sport and as a fan. So that quickly changed, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna get into something else.
Mm-hmm.
I got into medical device sales for 7 years. Had an amazing career with that. Would still be doing that today if I didn't have this itch to scratch with starting my own brand and starting the coffee concept.
Right.
Um, so we started Clutch in 2018. We're actually we this upcoming week Clutch turns 5 years old,
Wow.
which is exciting. And yeah, just been really trying to. We have some pretty aggressive growth goals over the next 3 years that we want to achieve. And then at the same time, in my spare time when I'm not doing that or being a dad to two kids, I actually
Mm-hmm.
mentor. There's a mentor program through the Oregon Business School, and I mentor 4 student athletes at the University of Oregon right now as well. Just
Wow.
got people that have focus on wanting to be entrepreneurial or
Mm-hmm.
business, coaching them and building relationships with them. So that's been very rewarding as well.
Right. So it sounds like your passion or is really the people, not just the coffee, but the people, the relationships, uh, experience within the whole relationship side of business. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, honestly, everything comes back to the right people. We talk about as we're going to grow and open, we're going to double in size this year in 2023. The only way we're doing that is with the right people in the right
Mm-hmm.
seats. You could have the greatest concept in the world, but if you don't have the right people on the team to help be part of that and execute it,
Mm-hmm.
it's unlikely to be as successful as it could be.
Right. Right. It's about finding the right people, leveraging them, and so you guys started in your first location was North Carolina, and how many locations? How have you been able to scale that up till now?
Yeah, so we have 6 locations right now. Number 7 will open in about a month. We're located in both North and South Carolina currently. We will finish the year going from six. Well, finish the year going from 5 to 10 or 11, which is exciting. Our goal is to get to 50 in the next 3 years. So
Wow.
we took a little bit of time on the front end to get our rhythm down to make sure we had the right cadence on things,
Mm-hmm.
the right structure and foundation. And then now we're kind of pressing the accelerator on everything. So we'll eventually be in Georgia as well, and just kind of really trying to focus on that area, and bring the Clutch brand to a lot of people.
Right, right, and something about the community. You're focusing not just on the overall Clutch community, but each individual location community, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Going into any new community is key for us, but again, making an impact right away, and then sustaining that impact. So there's some certain initiatives that we map out as part of our we call it like a new market launch. Things we're doing
Mm-hmm.
specifically.
So you're saying you have the locations right now. You're scaled to 50, and you said your seventh one is where?
7th one will be in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is just south of Charlotte. It's kind of crazy actually. Since you and I had last talked too, we have a there's a very large drive-through established drive-through chain, different, not coffee, different concept down in the south,
Mm-hmm.
that has reached out and expressed some interest in potentially collaborating with us to really help us scale beyond our current goals.
Really?
So we are, yeah, like in a big way. So we're working on kind of vetting out some things there to, kind of feel out and see if it's a good mutual relationship, to explore. But that would be really exciting if that came together, because that would raise, and elevate the Clutch name and our ability to impact people. And one of the cool things too is every new every new store we open, right, we're creating 30 to 40 jobs in every single one that we do. So
Right.
even thinking about it in that fashion is exciting to know that we're going to be adding hundreds and hundreds of jobs in these new areas for people.
Right. Absolutely. And So all the Clutch stores are on the East Coast, and you're on the West Coast.
Yep.
So how have you been able to manage that? And I see you texted me a few days ago. You're like, hey, I'm flying back. I'll meet you at
Yeah.
XYZ, and like I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's a hustler nonstop, going back and forth. How have you been able to navigate that?
Yeah. A lot of patience and support from my wife. So that's number one. We'll give credit if she ever watches this. We'll give credit to that.
Right.
But no, honestly, it's when I first started out there, I was in North Carolina 21 days a month for a year and a half straight.
Wow.
And so I would go out for like 10 or 11 days, come back for 4 or 5, back out for 10 or 11. And we did that to build the right foundation structurally, the right leadership.
Right.
We now have a lot of additional layers of support, which is helpful, which allows me to have a little bit more of a balanced approach. And at this has evolved, right? When we started, I was literally in the stores teaching people how to open, teaching them how to close,
Mm-hmm.
everything in between. Now it's evolved to where like I have a lot of macro things to focus on to make sure that all departments are hitting their goals and that we're communicating well. So most of my time now is spent like at my war desk getting things done. But it's
Right.
also very important for me to still have that FaceTime with people. So when I do fly out, I believe in efficiency as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't take any day flights. Every flight I take to the East Coast is a red eye,
Oh
which is
well.
terrible for sleep. But I leave California at 10:30 at night. I land at
Mm-hmm.
5 a.m.
Wow.
Grab a coffee and we go. So it's what it requires right now for the growth phase we're in, I think.
Right. So sort of the long haul to build the foundation, right? It's almost like, if you're building a building or a skyscraper, you have to have the right foundation underneath that people don't see for a long, long time, and then you start, building and scaling and all that. I think it's the same thing with the business.
Yeah.
So, how has your family been able to handle the balance between these red eyes and going back and forth nonstop?
So it's a lot of strategic planning. It's very helpful to have grandparents that are willing to contribute and help watch the kids, which has been helpful. In all honesty, if someone told me right now, hey, you have to do what you did 5 years ago and be out there 21 days a month, I'm not sure I could miss that much time with my kids.
Right.
That'd be pretty tough. So it's almost like the timing was the perfect timing to do it before having kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough, man. Like it never like when I leave, like we tell like my kids know where I'm going and like dad's going to Clutch. Um, it's you miss like certain routines and things, but that's again credit to my wife for holding down the fort and it's a long play, right? This is a chance to build something really special that could change our financial direction as a family forever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's worth the commitment and the teamwork now to build something greater for us and for our kids. So,
Right. So, would you say your wife and your family have been your clutch to you? Been very clutch.
in every facet of the word, like if we look up a textbook definition, you find a picture of my wife and all the stuff that she does to
Right.
basically hold down the fort, right? That allows me to. She's like, okay, go make. She jokes. She's like, go make mochas, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But really, that it wouldn't be possible without their support, and yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to the day where that travel ceases at some point, and I get to relax a little bit more. That
Right.
that time is not right now, but in the future.
Who knows? Maybe you can expand to the metaverse and sell coffee there.
There we go. I'm gonna have to enlist your help for that.
Right. So you mentioned the timing aspect of it, the right timing to open the clutch and expand, especially on the East Coast. You started in 2018, and so how have you been able to navigate, obviously the pandemic and whatnot, and 2020, 2021, has that impacted you in a good way or a bad way? How's that experience?
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like when COVID hit, we got what a lot of other drive-through businesses got, which was kind of this COVID bump, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And our sales actually increased. The first year of COVID, we actually grew 40% year over year. It was
Wow.
crazy, and I think we were lucky because the business model we were in was
Right.
already centered to be takeaway, right? It was drive-through. So we did all the right protocols, we did all the right testing, we made sure that our team had protective equipment
Mm-hmm.
to serve people safely. And I think at that point too, think about like how long you had to be like kind of on house arrest, right? And you were,
Oh yeah.
as a society, people were chomping at the bit to get out and like talk to another human and not the one you've
Right.
been cooped up with. So it became, I think, almost therapeutic to a degree too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was a huge boost for us. And then, there's been some peaks and valleys. Inflation obviously plays a factor in things. But COVID was by, I mean, look, there were lots of things that were miserable for us to deal with, as it was for a lot of people in terms of tracing and people that actually got COVID and like making sure we took
Right.
care of them. But did it impact the business positively? Like the answer is probably yes.
Right, but so you think it was more the building relationships that's what everyone was craving during the pandemic, and they were really looking to, not just get out and get coffee, right? You can order coffee in, but really go to somewhere that's catering to those relationships and building that, community with the people.
Yeah. Seeing your favorite barista, and on the flip side, our baristas knowing all of our regular customers, knowing their orders, right? And so they're like, oh, hey, like Sam gets a medium cold brew, like
Mm-hmm.
that matters, right? You're like, damn, they remembered me. That's great.
Right.
So it's a two-way mutual street, I think there, and people were definitely looking forward to, again, I think to connecting with others, but also not just randoms, but people that they actually knew, right, and had a
Mm-hmm.
relationship with from before COVID.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And with the with COVID and everything, I know brick and mortar, especially drive through, there's a lot of red tape when you're opening these new locations. Did that speed up the process, or how was navigating that red tape when opening or managing locations?
Yeah, the best answer to that is that every city is different. Some cities like Columbia, we just opened in,
Hmm.
they issued permits a month early. That never happens. They were like
Wow.
business friendly. They're like, come on down. Can't wait for you guys to be here. Then you have other cities that shall remain nameless for now, who can't get out of their own way, and projects that should be open by now that
Hmm.
aren't. And we're ready to staff it. We're ready to serve it. We've got people literally inbound messaging every day. When is the store going to open? And we don't
Right.
have an answer. So I think the hardest part probably as it relates to COVID is sourcing material and sourcing
Mm.
supplies, right?
Right.
Because there was a big crunch on manufacturing
Oh
and
yeah.
how are we getting things, and that was probably the most challenging. Like there's long lead times for equipment, longer than there used to
Right.
be, because there's more demand too.
Hmm.
So just have to kind of navigate it. Thankfully, we have a head of supply chain who does a great job on helping to navigate a lot of that stuff.
So how did you maintain that quality with the supply chain and your suppliers and everything, during this limited shortage?
Yeah, part of it was just being uncompromising in terms of our commitment to quality, right? Like,
Hmm.
if something was cut, let's say an order was cut or we didn't get something, we weren't just going to go replace that with a cheap alternative. It was like trying to maintain that level of quality,
Hmm.
and then just really trying to forecast what we would need. So let's say we needed 1,000 units of something.
Right.
Honestly, we were probably ordering 2,000 of it just to
Hmm.
get
Yeah.
enough
Right.
that in case if it recurred later, we have more buffer stock. So
Hmm.
we kind of learned. I think we learned our lesson on ordering up and making sure we were better protected in case, because you never know. I mean, there were peaks and valleys of when that stuff would happen, and
Right.
hard to predict. So
Hmm. And when you do finally get open a location, you guys do something pretty special. Can you exp- explain what that
yeah,
is?
yeah. So on grand opening day, we serve free drinks all day. There's no strings attached. Someone wants to come through one time or 10 times, I don't really
Hmm.
care. The goal is to allow people a chance to try, taste, experience the brand with zero commitment,
Right.
and other than just your time to come visit us.
Hmm.
So that part is like so much. That's honestly like it's one of the most rewarding things. It's organized chaos. We served over 2,000 free drinks on our last opening,
Wow.
in a 12-hour span,
Hmm.
which is fun, and just it's. I mean, the lines are 30 to 40 cars deep all day.
Wow.
It's exhausting at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a great way to show a community what we're about. And I mean, I literally worked all 12 hours on that opening and the most recent one. And we had people online who were, they saw the lines, they weren't sure what to expect. And I heard several people mention, like, you guys are as efficient as Chick-fil-A. Like, this line is moving
Oh
faster than
yeah.
we thought. This is impressive. And those are probably some of the best compliments you can get from an operational
Oh yeah.
standpoint.
Chick-fil-A,
So
brick and mortar. Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's exciting. And but yeah, so free drinks all day, and like we pump it up, we hype it, we let everybody in the community know. And you never know, like, you, as like, I'm heavily involved in the marketing, so you always cross your
Mm-hmm.
fingers and you're like, okay, did we do a good enough job to spread the word?
Right.
And
Build all the
then
hype up.
yeah, like, because you're like, gosh, what if people don't show up when we open? Like,
Right.
but we had people were showing up 30 minutes before we opened, which was cool. So
Right.
um,
And,
yeah,
and I heard
it's
you hire your own DJ.
yeah, yeah. So we have a live DJ that comes outside. And I
Wow.
mean, look, if people are going to be waiting in line for a while, I think it's our responsibility to provide some entertainment value there. And plus, it
Mm-hmm.
just makes the vibe elevate as well. So DJ Mike Tastic comes out and he rocks with us for 8 hours, 8 of those 12 hours. We give him a little bit of a break there at the end.
Yeah.
But I mean, I saw people recording videos and they're like posting it on Snapchat and on Instagram. They're like, yo, they have a live DJ here. Like, you just have it's a party. It's a good time.
Yeah. You build the hype up, get the word of mouth out. And so what is Darren ordering at one of those grand openings?
Darren is getting one of our signature drinks that nobody else in the industry makes right now, which is an iced muscle mocha. It
Ooh.
is a fusion of it's a protein shake with espresso infused into it, that we designed. My wife came to me several years ago and was like, hey, I'm tired of drinking my coffee and my protein shake every morning. Figure a way
Mm-hmm.
to fuse it. And we did. So I would get that on ice for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you guys have any like secret menus or like, secrets that you could share?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of secret combinations. We try to, some places have what they'll call a secret menu, then it's posted publicly somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We actually try to keep ours somewhat secret. So the best way
Right.
to customers is like asking our barista of like, hey, what's your favorite secret menu or off item or off menu item? And they have a lot of knowledge of those, but they also sometimes create their own as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some fun flavor combinations that sound weird when you say, like, okay, an energy drink that has, if you had peach, strawberry, white chocolate, like a combination, like you wouldn't think white chocolate would go into an energy drink, but it's
Right.
actually phenomenal when it's combined with those other fruit flavors.
Right. So you guys are known for your unique flavors and combinations. And where do those flavors? I know you mentioned your wife, but do those flavors come from ideas from the community or maybe employees or where's the how do you test those flavors?
So some of it is from just the art or years and years of experience in the industry. But then
Mm-hmm.
also, like, when we did our last menu refresh a year and a half ago,
Mm-hmm.
we actually asked our own employees. We were like, hey, let's talk about some of your favorite combinations that we don't know about. And it was
Mm-hmm.
really cool because it was kind of a crowdsourcing effort, and some of their recommendations made it onto the menu as new signature drinks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Actually made it onto the menu. Oh, that's pretty cool. And so what does a day in the life look like for Darren right now?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so it's segmented. I'm working at my computer from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Then I break for 1 hour to get my kids up, fed, dressed, and off to daycare or school. I'm back at my desk by 8:45. I'm working straight through until about 3:30 or 4. I try and go to the gym or go for a run. Um, then it's back to kid duty for dinner from about 5 to 7, including bath time, all that. After they're down asleep, I'm usually back at my computer from about 8:30 to 10:30 or 8:30 to 11, and then back at it. So I don't ever. I usually get 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night is the max,
Oh,
and that's pretty standard Monday through Friday on that schedule.
wow. So what has been the most challenging part of running Clutch over the years?
What's the most challenging?
Or is there like one experience you remember that's like, oh, this was like, what after we
Yeah,
overcame this hurdle, like it's downhill sailing from here.
sure. That's a really good question. I think the biggest thing is people to grow with and
Mm,
putting them in the right positions to succeed.
right.
And I could give strong examples of people that are in the right seat that are thriving. And I could give you examples of people that were in the wrong seat or that we had to remove from a seat because it was not conducive to the growth of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those are never easy,
Right.
conversations or things to do. So I think it comes back to people. It's the right people, but also in the
Yeah.
right seat.
Right. It's almost like, if you find the right person, they can 10x your business, but if you find the wrong person, they can, 10x minus. So
Sabotage it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been really challenging to navigate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think challenging, but also just learned a lot, right? Like looking back and learning a lot there, where I feel like my my ability to look at everything and decision making is more pristine now than it was a year ago, even or
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago or 5 years ago. So, but and just being willing to be flexible and grow with the business and understand, right? Like
Right.
understanding that the way my job was 3 years ago is not the way it is today. And frankly, it's
Right.
not going to be the same way it is in a year from now when we're twice the size. It's going to continue to
Yeah.
evolve. And part of my responsibility is to adapt with that.
Right. So it's almost like, when you're in startup phase is different from, going from, 1 to 10 and then 10 to 100. It's almost like you need to, build up the different skills and be a leader, a different kind of leader, right?
Different kind of and that's like I have a couple mentors who have really coached me on that. And
Mm,
number one, leaders always eat last. So you're serving
right.
others and you eat last on in every sense of the phrase.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's at the end of the day, no matter what happens downstream, you're the last line of defense, right?
Yep.
In the position that I'm in, I can't sink to other levels, and I can't. I have to stay high road. I have to
Yep.
maintain that. I have to be that check and balance, and so sometimes that's easier said than not. But it's my responsibility to do that, right? To make sure that
Hmm.
we keep the right culture and the right people together. So I take that responsibility pretty seriously.
Right. So I know you mentioned, you've been sort of a mentor to, the employees and coaches and whatnot. Is there a one, pivotal lesson you learned from a mentor of yours that really helped, Clutch or in life in general?
Man, probably more than one, to be honest. I mean, one of the I'd say a business wise mentor. One of my mentors is a guy named Rob Smith, who has started 4 different companies. Sold his
Wow.
first one to Disney when he was 23. Just like really bright guy, and he and I speak the same language on business in terms of things. But I think he's really encouraged me. Um, to not be afraid to fail, right? To shoot the shot and to go for it,
Hmm.
and know at the end of the day um, that you're going to be better off for having tried that. And you either succeed or you learn. No failing. So you succeed or you learn, and just you got to be willing to continue to shoot that shot. And
Hmm.
frankly, like it takes one opportunity to be right
Right.
in the sport of business, right? You don't have to be right 10 times out of 10. You could hit 1 out of 10, and it could be that multi-million-dollar idea that comes to fruition that you're able to execute. So
Yeah, I think there was a quote from, Jeff Bezos or something. He said like, if you're playing baseball, right, and you step up to the home plate and you hit it and you miss, well, you keep trying. And if you keep missing, eventually after the 12th time, not only are you going to get a home run, you're going to get a grand slam out of the universe.
Everybody knows that if you swing for the fences, you hit more home runs, but you also strike out more. But with the baseball, that analogy doesn't go far enough because with baseball, no matter how well you connect with the ball, you can only get 4 runs. The success is capped at 4 runs. But in business, every once in a while, you step up to the plate and you hit the ball so hard, you get 1,000 runs. And so when you have that kind of asymmetric payoff, and one at bat can get you 1,000 runs, it encourages you to experiment more. It's the right business decision to experiment more. It's also better for your customers. Customers like the successful experiments.
And it's something that's only, within business, not just within sports.
Yeah, you got to keep. I mean, you got to keep shooting the shot. And I mean, there's actually Mark Cuban has a book that talks about how to win at the sport of business, and it talks about how it's like business is a 24/7, 365 venture,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
No one's sleeping, everyone's working and trying to grow. But again, you only have to be right one time.
Right.
And not what I'm about to say next is like not right only one time. But a good example is like another mentor of mine started Hollywood Video back in the day, which back when you actually rented DVDs and VHS, and had a couple other business ventures, but like started that and sold it for $1.2 billion.
Wow.
And I mean, it's like you're right one time. They also bought at the time they bought a brick and mortar electronics chain out of Chapter 11, tried to grow it, didn't go so well, and it got dumped back into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So like,
Wow.
but the point was like you only have to be right one time to grow that and then open up other doors for yourself. I mean, I'm hoping that Clutch opens up other doors for me to coach and consult business wise
Hmm.
after after this journey, and to be able to help others who have aspirations prevent some of the same mistakes from being made and help make their game sharper, and kind of have an express line on how to get there versus having to reinvent the wheel.
Right. I heard you have a great name for what that would be.
Oh, Clutch Consulting? You bet
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I like a little alliteration, and I think the definition of the word clutch, right? Like,
Yeah. Hmm. Right. Same
can we
mission.
deliver for you, and you need it most? Can we be that clutch consultant for you? So
Right. And how do you see Clutch Coffee innovating further in the next however many years?
that's a great question. I think more and more concepts are gonna latch on to the way we do things, to the way others in our space do things. And just to be clear, we didn't invent the wheel here.
Right.
But I think as more and more people latch on, it will be important for us to define how we're unique and how we're
Hmm.
different. Not to say, oh, we're the best at something, because I think best is relative, right? The
Right.
best wine you've ever had might be different for someone else other than you. But how are we going to be unique? And how are we going to
Right.
carve out our space? And so I think that comes down to the product offering. I think
Hmm.
it comes down to how we're delivering, the product
Hmm.
and that experience. I think how do you continue to improve the customer experience where people are like, man, I want to go back there because it was so
Right.
great versus, not wanting to go visit. So,
Right. So I think it comes back to those three C's, right? The culture, community,
customer, yep,
customer experience. Right. And
yep.
so who are the Clutch Coffee customers? Is there like one specific trait they have, or is it all over the place, or what have you noticed?
It is, yeah, it's across the spectrum, man. Like we have daily regulars who are in high school who come before or after school,
Hmm.
and we have retirees who are coming in the morning, to grab a coffee. So it really ranges. I
Hmm.
would say we are probably geared a little bit more towards a youthful audience. Um, but part of the beauty of what we do, people ask, "Oh, what's your niche?" Well,
Right.
I think because we're not just coffee, it's energy drinks, it's juices, it's teas, it's smoothies.
Hmm.
So our
Energy.
goal is to be able to have something for everybody. And so, yeah, it's tough to say like, oh, it's just one subset. I think there's a lot of different groups that we serve, and hopefully serve well. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, youthful comes to mind in terms of the energy of what we do at Clutch, and serving that as a product, if you will, to people.
Right. So it's almost like there's these different customer segments, but the overall Clutch brand is about energy and youthfulness, or I saw the branding itself within the store looks really nice, all the colors and whatnot. How did you design the branding and figure out the branding for that?
Yeah, we've got an awesome marketing advisor who used to run all of the social content strategy for Nike
Oh
Athletics.
well.
And so he has been huge in terms of helping to guide us. The color palette, like the different colors, the vibrant colors you see, we went through a pretty extensive process of defining what our color palette would be
Hmm.
and looking at what that is. And I think those colors that we chose really do connect with the notion of like warm, vibrant, energetic. If you can call a color energetic, right? It's not muted. It's not something that's subtle.
Right.
And I think that ties into the brand voice and the experience hopefully that you're getting is a vibrant experience that you're getting when you visit Clutch.
And so the Clutch, can you explain like what is the Clutch mission as far as moving forward?
Yeah. What's funny, we're actually going through a leadership process, a leadership rubric as a team right now, as a senior
Mm-hmm.
leadership team. So we're actually in the throes of redefining what that means for
Ah.
us and redefining what our culture is.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for part 2. We can go over what those end up being. But I think at a molecular level, our goal is to provide energy and to make people happy. And what's
Mm-hmm.
cool about me saying that is I went through some of this exercise literally last Friday. I was coming back from the airport and I talked to our marketing advisor Rob. We had a little think tank session for like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, and he broke it down for me. He goes, if you can't explain to her
Right.
why Clutch exists, you are complicating it too much. And so I was like, okay, well, when you tell me that, we exist to make people happy and to serve energy in every facet of the word. And he's like, that's it. Like, that is what you do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you serve products, but like it's a feeling and an
Right.
experience that you can
Experience.
provide to people. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally makes sense. So it's really the customer experience and so that's really where your passion of coffee came from. It's you're serving energy, right?
Yeah. I think it's connecting with people. And
Right.
look, at the end of the day, I think what we provide beverage wise is usually what people are like, it's something that they are getting to help get through their day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether they're going to work, whether they just got off of a long shift, whether they're studying for school, we provide something that helps them navigate life.
Right.
And it's something that is not crazy expensive, right? Like, for $5, you can get a great experience and a beverage that tastes phenomenal, that provides you with literal and hopefully emotional energy too, to be able to conquer whatever it is you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. And if you could go back and give the 20-year-old Darren one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oh, I know the answer to this one very specifically. It's map out plan A and then be prepared for plan A to go to shit, and then map out plan B and be prepared for plan B to be semi-accurate, and then prepare for plan C.
Wow.
Because you can map out everything where you're like, okay, it's going to go exactly this way. And the reality is you can't, um, you can't manicure it that specifically. Things are going to happen that you don't expect. And so you just have to be open and willing to ride the ride and say, okay, we're going to adjust, and having, what's the next way I'm going to approach this? What's the next plan? So if I could tell a 20-year-old version of me that, it would be that.
Sounds good. Well, I think it's been a great time. And where can people find you?
So all of our social media handles are at Clutch Coffee Bar, and then physically we're in the Carolinas, and we'll be expanding into Georgia as well. But yeah, just on all the social platforms, mostly Instagram, and we're working on building our audience on TikTok. Might need your help on that one too, but we're growing there. So
Awesome. Well, appreciate the conversation, Darren, and hope it was valuable to the audience.
thank you, Sam.
And
Appreciate it, man.
I hope people they don't come looking for you in a Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. They won't. That's not where they would normally expect to look for me.